We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 80.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and a Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is the 200th
Wow.
200th installment of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR, Pro Wrestling Talk. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. It's not a birthday, but we'll celebrate. Like he's got a party.
I can't with this man right now. So obviously, for those who are watching on YouTube, know what's going on. But if you're watching, if you're just listening to the audio version of this, I'm looking at the chat here on Zoom, and I see Rob say Buff Bagwell cosplay 3, 2, 1, and as soon as I finished the countdown, I look up and he throws on this Buff Bagwell style birthday hat, pulls out a high C fruit punch, I think it was, or maybe it was an orange burst, and he has a chocolate sprinkled donut. He's all ready for the 200th episode, and I don't blame him one bit. It should be a good one.
He's got the glowing glasses and everything.
I wasn't ready.
No one was.
This is already a great episode. I love it.
You can follow me individually on Twitter at EthanM95. You can go ahead and follow James on Twitter at
JHW Reporter.
Go ahead and follow Rob on Twitter at.
There's the rib.
He just ribbed us. Didn't even show you.
At Rob Flores Media.
There you go. Maybe some technical difficulties there. It wouldn't be an episode of BTR without some technical difficulties. It's all right. We got it in there at Rob Flores Media. Go ahead and follow us also at Real BTR Radio and Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes. Let's just get it out of the way. It's the 200th episode. A little sentimental here. Been doing this, 5 years now? A little more than 5 years.
You guys have. Yeah. Don't age me now. Don't
like it. But you've been along for over 100 episodes now. So
I feel like more.
You're
more.
Pushing you're pushing that 150 mark maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I was here for at least 100th episode. We did the 100th episode in studio, right?
We did. You were already here,
and I'd been here for a
70
good,
or something.
I felt like I'd been a good little while.
Oh. Been here for a while. You've aged with us. Look at you. You're falling apart, sir.
A little bit. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was a long process just to get me on here. There's thunderstorms going outside. Not the RVD rolling thunder, but just thunder and lightning. I thought it was like the first or second day of summer. What's going on here, folks? I'm confused.
I know we got 4th of July. Can we not? Maybe they're preparing, the loud pops, a lot of pyro coming up. 4th of July here.
That's where I had you guys wait. I wasn't sure if that was it. I thought my power was gonna go. It flickered a little bit, and so I'm like, well, can't have it go off during the show. So we waited a little bit. It was worth it. Rob's putting in the chat that Sasha got released. I don't know if that's something new. I'm kind of looking at that right now.
I've seen reports about it, but there's not been a confirmation of it.
That's the report on the Bird app.
It's been so for the last number of days, but
I mean, since the day she was walked out, but
there's not really a proper confirmation from either side, I guess. So we'll wait and see. We don't want to throw that out there yet. But yeah, let's talk about some big pop. Let's talk about Vince McMahon. Subject. I mean,
he's Vince. Oh my God, I don't know about.
Why wouldn't we talk about Vince McMahon on the 200th episode? We talked about the situation.
I would say, did we talk about it?
The day of last week. We found out minutes before it actually happened. Right. But let's talk about it. He showed up on Friday Night SmackDown. Everyone, of course, was talking about, what's going to happen? What's he going to say? Comes out to a nice little pop. Comes out and says, "Welcome to Friday Night SmackDown. It's great to be in here. Great to be here in Minnesota."
Talked about the meaning of the here now forever
then now forever, and said most importantly together, and then he leaves
together.
So there he goes, Vince McMahon, not afraid to show his face and showing that he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well,
at least voluntarily.
Right. if you know Vince, I mean, he's gonna go down. He's gonna go down swinging. But I think the thing too to remember is that there's a lot of stockholders and the business sides involved, and I was listening to Jim Cornette, and he talked quite a bit about that on just Vince showing his facing and the emphasis on some of the words that he was using and saying during that. It's kind of like, hey, like together forever, like I'm still here. Yeah, I'm out of this executive role for the time being. Obviously, they moved Stephanie McMahon in there in the interim, so they do still have a McMahon around. But Vince is still doing the creative behind the scenes stuff. A lot of people probably, if there was one thing that he needed to be removed from, people would have voted for him to be removed from that probably. But
from creative, but he's still running things there. So
still running things. So the first thing he does is GD pal, I'm going out there to open the show. I believe he opened. Did he not open the show?
He opened the show.
He went out there and opened the show. I mean, I kind of knew he wasn't. It was interesting because I think on CNN they were saying, "Oh, Vince McMahon." They were talking about the situation, said he was going to be on the show. They got word of it. I guess he was going to be on the show, but they even said in character. So, I mean, maybe that should have been a hint right there. But you just kind of think maybe he would have said more than what he did. I believe he came out on Raw as well, right?
He showed up on Raw unannounced toward the end of the first hour. Basically, even more Vince McMahon kind of entrance. After he got that pop on Friday, he got a nice little pop on Monday. Basically came out to say Raw's been the longest weekly episodic television series, almost 30 years. He thanked the fans and basically said, what a better way to celebrate almost 30 years than the return of John Cena next week, who's been a part of those 20 years. So, Cena's coming back next week as was previously announced. But yeah, Vince basically just came out to show his face again, pretty much.
And just take advantage, and they announced it, and they took advantage of it being, hey, like another ratings draw. I feel like they did that last week with, I've already kind of forgot, but someone, or no, that was the MJF thing with AEW. But yeah, it's just like, hey, we got something. Let's run for it, and
absolutely.
And we'll look into the numbers a little bit later. We'll see.
Well, yeah, because I believe there was an increase on SmackDown for sure. Obviously, people wanting to know what Vince was going to say. Said a whole lot of nothing, but basically,
of course,
said I'm not going anywhere. Some other news I found through Cornette, because he did have like a breaking news episode talking about Raw. So I listened to that portion of it as well. Basically, it was, I guess, confirmed that John Laurinaitis is, as of right now, out of the executive vice president of talent relations role. He has not been released as, an official announcement yet. But the interim EVP of talent relations is your favorite guy, Bruce Pritchard. Pritchard is
I heard
he's taking on every role apparently there.
I mean, so I mean, he's not moving out of his role that he's just
I don't think
double duty.
He's
there's already not enough time in the day for what he does with the first job. So.
He's already the executive producer of Raw and SmackDown, I believe, and that now and I think also NXT. He said, we've been kind of saying, Sean has kind of reporting to them, him and Vince. So. And we're going to talk about someone else who kind of is back as well. We'll mention that in a few minutes. But it looks like Pritchard has got another task in hand. So interesting that they brought kind of a Vince guy in that position. Was this Vince's decision, and maybe Stephanie kind of was the one that had to make that choice? Or was it a Stephanie McMahon decision that, hey, maybe he has the experience, let's just keep him around rather than bring in someone new or someone different?
I mean, I think some of this is kind of from Cornette, but it makes a lot of sense just when you think about it. It's like, Vince McMahon doesn't have the title, but he's still
pulling the strings.
He's still going to be pulling the strings because, I mean, doesn't he not already talk to his daughter every day? Does he not talk to Bruce Pritchard every day? Like, I mean, nothing's changing. They just, for the sake of it,
It's basically Stephanie's being, what was I going to say? I forget what Cornette's called it, but she's basically the face right now of that position. Just so, you did something to remove Vince, while the investigation is happening. But is she actually really doing anything? Is she just
right,
taking the title just to take the title. Not saying she won't someday, but I mean, who knows? Maybe she is doing stuff. We don't really know for sure, but as long as Vince is showing himself on TV, I think he's definitely has some influence still in the corporate aspect of things. So,
and it was just kind of interesting that, like, I don't know, just when you think about, I mean, where could this be headed? Sometimes it's one of those things where you don't know where things are going, right? Like, we can't predict how things are going to go going forward. But is this the start of Stephanie now just being in charge? Like, maybe they don't ever go back to it. Maybe she fires her father. Probably not.
What a twist! What a twist! Can she do it on TV? Like, that's how you write Mr. McMahon off. You have his daughter do the firing on TV. Like, that's how you get rid of the character, honestly.
And he'd probably be all for it.
Yeah, he would. The ratings would do great.
GD, that's good booking.
Let's talk about, while we're on the subject of the McMahon family, let's talk about someone who apparently is back. Triple H over the weekend showed his face at the WWE Performance Center and apparently told a number of individuals he's back. What does that mean? There's not really a whole lot of detail. It could mean perhaps he's getting involved with NXT again. Could mean he's just back at the Performance Center. But we obviously know Shawn Michaels has kind of taken over the overall creative aspect of NXT 2.0. Obviously kind of going, working under Pritchard and what's his name?
Who? Johnny. Oh, Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn. And Vince.
Did you hear what Cornette said about Kevin Dunn?
Probably, but go ahead and remind me.
Well, so he said something like, "Oh, Kevin Dunn just so happened to sell stock."
Yes,
some of his stock in the
trade. There was some reports going around that there possibly was some insider trading
because everyone would have maybe had an idea about Vince leaving. Kevin Dunn's been close to Vince for years, right? So
he was selling some stock, I guess, recently after it was revealed. It was made public that Vince, this whole situation with Vince was happening.
And it's go ahead. Well, it's just interesting because, like, even the whole thing with Stephanie, right? It was like she just stepped down. Like, did she
that was another
down
thing,
knowing, because isn't she on the board that's reviewing him?
They've known about this since April. So yes, I think this is probably a plan. She probably knew about the situation, so she took a step back away from the board, possibly. So she's not involved in the investigation. And then they were like, okay, well, let's just bring you back. Apparently, executive members are kind of bad mouthing her on the way out as a way to, replace her with someone else, which they have already. There's a new chief brand officer, I guess. See he froze. So my internet connection is also unstable now. Look at that. Is this thunder killing us? They're trying to ruin the 200th episode of Beyond the Ropes. We'll see if he gets back in just a few seconds. But yeah, so Triple H coming back is a big deal. James is reconnecting. Here you go. You're back on, sir.
Yeah, I think the WWE is trying to, like...
My internet connection was a little... I said your connection is unstable too. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, there's, it's just the weather out there. It's like, I don't know if it's raining, but I don't want to look, but it's something going on. Are you muted? Am I talking to myself?
Can't hear me.
I hear you now.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
There you go. Look at this.
You're supposed to like good, like the Verizon.
Good. I know. I was thinking about that. Now I can't hear you, sir. Look at this. We're falling apart. There you go.
What do you mean?
You're going in and out, sir.
Sir. I wish I had in and out right now. That'd be great.
That sounds very delicious. Triple H. Oh, we're talking about Triple H and kind of the whole McMahon situation.
It's a mess. Just to put it in simple terms, it's a mess. We'll see. Rob, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll see. We'll see where things go. There are some unfortunate news that happened over the past weekend. We'll be talking about that on the other side of the break, just to give that some significant, a decent amount of time and do that the right way. But Yeah, just this whole Vince McMahon thing is kind of wait and see. We'll have to see what happens.
Absolutely. Hey James, before we go to break.
No, we don't need to do this part.
No, I have to do it.
You don't have to.
And it's our 200th episode. Like, I've been doing this for probably the last 100 episodes now.
So why not stop now?
I think in order for us to kind of keep moving forward, I think we should all do it together.
I mean, I don't do it anyway, so I'm fine. It doesn't bother me.
It's a special episode. I think you should participate in this one.
I mean, I'm forced to participate. Like, I have to be here for it, but I'm not gonna verbally participate. Roman Reigns is a great guy.
It's time to acknowledge the tribal chief. Throw those ones up. Look at Rob.
Jesus,
he's throwing up those ones. He came back on the screen with his party hat, his glasses.
I forgot about the party hat.
His donut.
And it
he
showed up
had
on
the donut already. That's why we haven't heard him.
And it made me pop because I forgot all about the hat and the glasses.
Acknowledge him. A successful Universal Championship defense against Riddle. That bum.
He did beat Riddle, yeah.
Yeah, he did. He showed up to SmackDown. He had to leave his private island, get on the private jet all the way over here to go to his private dressing room.
Mm-hmm.
And
his life's so hard. Mm-hmm.
It's very challenging. Very unfair for him.
Well, and we'll talk more about what happens going forward because I don't know how I feel about it.
It's not what I expected.
But does that make it okay?
I don't know.
I know, and
I have a prediction.
I do too. And I wanted to tweet it out, but I'm like, people probably already know this, or I think I was like washing dishes.
I think it's kind of obvious where they're gonna go with it.
I think so too. And I mean, it's at this point the only thing they can do.
It really.
I mean, not really, but it should be the only.
It probably should be the only thing they can do. I think.
Which
makes we're talking about the same thing.
I hope we're talking about the same thing too. But if we are, and of course we're going to be talking about this on the other side of the break as well. We still have about a minute here before commercial. But I just think if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, I'm now starting to think, especially if you're thinking the same thing, if that makes it too obvious and they don't do it.
No, they'll do it. That hasn't stopped them before.
It hasn't, and I don't think they necessarily need to do it immediately.
I think,
but it has to happen shortly soon after. I mean, you kind of have to do it there.
I think it happens then.
It would have to. I mean, why? I mean, for the sake of everything going forward, you need something because
we're just circling around this. Right?
I'm circling like crazy, and I'm doing on purpose. I'm all for it. I just think there's no way, and we'll talk more about because I have it all figured out on why it's supposed to happen the way I think it's supposed to happen. And whether you agree with me or not, by the time I'm done explaining, you'll be agreeing with me too.
When we return, we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen or what should happen. We're going to talk about, unfortunately, some passings. We had some deaths over the weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk more.
We'll talk about
memories. We'll go ahead.
and how Bianca Belair, one of my favorites, might be cursing people on the roster.
She's cursed.
Sadly,
talk about that.
Maybe.
We'll talk about that and much more right here on episode 200 of Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 200 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. Go ahead and find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Go leave us a like, subscribe, comment, share it.
Leave
Spread
feedback.
The word.
Tell your enemies, tell your friends, tell the person next door, tell the stranger that you're going to meet today at the store or tomorrow at the store, depending on when you're listening to this. And
YouTube, so you can see our beautiful faces. Just search up Beyond the Ropes. You'll see Rob wearing his party hat. There it is. He brought it back.
I'm never ready for it. Like, it just always catches me by surprise. I think that's the greatest thing ever.
Before the break, we were talking about Roman Reigns and his potential plans that are upcoming.
I don't know if they were his plans, but
they're not.
But he'll be there.
He beat Riddle.
He did beat Riddle.
We found out his opponent. Because he said he finished everyone. He beat everyone. There's no one left.
So he was asking for it, and he has. He beat the guy that came out too. So it's like he hasn't
Brock Lesnar
showed up.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar showed up, and
they were in Minnesota.
They were in Minnesota, but he doesn't necessarily live in Minnesota though anymore either. I
think he's in Canada, but I guess it makes sense to bring him back to his hometown. So
makes it easy for him to come back. But I do wonder, like, why are we doing this?
They needed a backup plan.
A backup plan for what? What?
So
for what?
The rumors plan was for Randy versus Roman at SummerSlam.
Oh yeah.
It's reported that he has to have back surgery now.
And he's out for the year for sure.
He's out for the rest of the year. So you need a big name for SummerSlam. Got to sell at that stadium. You got to bring in Brock.
Well, it's not the stadium anymore, right?
No, it is. Money in the Bank's not the stadium.
Oh, this match gives Money in the Bank, right?
Yeah, this one's for SummerSlam.
Oh. Well, then that kind of throws a wrench in my plan because I knew it was at SummerSlam, but I was still thinking it was at Money in the Bank.
It still happens. I think. Are we talking about the same thing? Are we talking about a cash in?
It has to be a cash in, but that's why I kind of thought too this was happening at Money in the Bank, because if you have it at Money in the Bank, then maybe do the cash in there, but you still have SummerSlam. But
had some cash ins at SummerSlam. James is frozen once again. The question is who or whom
they've had too many cash ins at SummerSlam, you're saying?
No, I'm saying that they've had some. You're frozen again, so maybe exit out and come back in. We'll continue this conversation, but let's talk about who's qualified thus far. It has been confirmed.
I'm back.
You're back. Are you here?
I think
your screen is frozen. Your screen is frozen. I'm gonna take a picture here. Take a picture and we're gonna post it on the Twitter. Look at that. There you go. I'm sure Rob is enjoying. Oh, we got a fourth guy. A surprise.
We're blaming the storm. It's me.
He's back. Thought we had a fourth guy here, but go ahead.
Nah. So yeah, just my whole thing. So I think it has to be a cash. Now, it's important, and hopefully they don't mess it up with who's in the Money in the Bank and who wins it. Do you have the list of who's in it? I know Seth Rollins is in it.
Seth freaking Rollins is in it. From SmackDown. They have a few qualifying matches.
I think they had a few that got added in. So while you look that up, I thought it was interesting that they actually mentioned Seth Rollins and the fact that he did cash in. And they said, I think Corey Graves or one of them mentioned, it's
the heist of the century.
Rollins had one of the most infamous cash-ins, but they never mentioned that it was against Brock and Roman.
No, they didn't. It was WrestleMania 31 when Brock and Roman had their first encounter, I believe.
And you were there for this?
I was live. It was
and you were there for this or no?
I was there, and it was crazy moments. Crazy. I think I had video footage him celebrating on the stage. So it's on my Instagram. Go ahead and follow me at Ethan Emery. I think I'm private, but
wow. Don't worry, I'll rip it off his page and I'll post it for you guys.
All right.
But did you know then? Like, I kind of didn't know. Like then, I kind of didn't think about it, or I thought he was gonna cash it in and still lose.
It was speculated that he might cash in, but no. I was not expecting it. I heard his music, and the whole stadium kind of jumped to their feet. So it was a big deal. The other three announced names so far: Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins is of course in there, Sheamus, and Omos. Yeah, I don't know where Omos came into the situation. There's two more qualified matches.
They got a big guy in there.
You got Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, which is set for SmackDown. So you got to assume one of them is gonna win that one, and
then we're looking at a last chance, maybe.
Perhaps the last chance. Maybe AJ Styles. Maybe
if he doesn't run off into a feud with the Miz.
So I haven't seen this week's Raw, but I know he was on Miz TV. Could be doing something with the Miz.
I think he might be doing something with the Miz.
Maybe at SummerSlam or something.
Well, yeah.
They could. I mean, they could do something, I guess, at Money in the Bank. But yeah, so what's your prediction? Are we predicting Seth is cashing in on?
I mean, when you just rattled off who was in, I guess. I mean,
who else is gonna win? Riddle? Are they gonna put Riddle in that match?
I mean, if Riddle could find a way in, I mean, because now Riddle's not doing anything, and if you want a story of Riddle coming in, maybe cashing in, taking it, you know, he just got beat by Roman Reigns, but now you think he's out of the picture, but now he's gonna strongly be back in it with the cash in. I can imagine them having a whole lot of fun having Riddle hold the briefcase, just kind of with his little personality, and you kind of never know how serious he is about something.
Riddle got stomped by Seth Rollins actually this past Monday, so he could cost Seth the briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
They enter a feud going to SummerSlam, and then
and you didn't name any real high flyers in there either, right? Like
that's what I was wondering when I saw Omos in there. I was like,
well, you're gonna have a big guy. I mean, they used to have Kane in there anyway, so you got a guy who can bump.
I saw him, and then I saw the other guys. I'm like, there's not really anyone there taking bumps.
Like none of them are jumping off the ladder, other than Seth. But I'm just like, does Seth need a bit of one jumping off the ladder at this point?
No. If he's winning the thing, he doesn't need to be doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
We just lost Cody, obviously, who's recovering.
Who I think should have been the guy, considering what the scenario is, right?
Possibly.
But I think it's going to be super important. Whoever they get to win whoever wins the briefcase, it has to be the one who wins the title. And it's simply because Roman Reigns is supposed to be taking time off. You never know what Brock Lesnar's schedule is going to be. They probably called him in earlier than they maybe even wanted to, just to get him in the mix. They
have him in their back pocket, I think, when they need him. I think, he's getting paid for, I don't know how many dates.
He has select dates, and they're probably a little flexible or whatever the case is, and that's great. But, hey, you're going to put something as the main event of SummerSlam, whether they're one of the ones, Roman or Brock, that wins the title. I mean, we've seen that situation happen already at WrestleMania. This is like the second or third time they've main evented WrestleMania. I think in like the last 7 years, they've been in 3 of them. Right?
They've been in 3 WrestleMania matches together.
I think as main event, right?
Correct. They've faced off against each other one previous time at SummerSlam, I think.
Yeah.
They've wrestled a couple of the Saudi Arabia shows against each other. This is like number 8 or 9.
And it's like but that's why I'm thinking, how can it be Seth? Like, you need to use it to build something. Riddle needs to be in this, and say what you want, but Riddle maybe still has the potential to be built into something, like to be built into a star, I guess.
Riddle, I mean, he probably will be champion at some point, whether they decide this year.
I mean, it would have to be like, I mean,
maybe plans change with Randy. I don't know. I don't think Randy was going to win the title, but they could have jump-started something there.
I mean, if they want a long-term story tell, you have Riddle maybe carry the championship for some time until Randy comes back. Maybe your post-WrestleMania feud is maybe Riddle retaining, Riddle interacting with Randy again, saying things have changed, something like that. Randy's jealous. Maybe Randy comes back as a heel. Maybe you get something like that to kind of get them feuding, and that's a long-term story, because if Roman Reigns is going to be in and out, maybe Roman comes back for WrestleMania, but I'm not sure. I mean, that's the fun part, right? This is the fun part of wrestling.
We don't know what's going to happen.
Even though sometimes we think it's predictable and sometimes it has its lulls and it is boring, we do get these situations where when you get to kind of long-term thinking, you just don't really know what's going to happen, right?
It's definitely an interesting situation. We've still got Money in the Bank coming in the next couple of weeks. So until we get confirmation of who wins that, we're not going to know for sure what's going to happen at SummerSlam. And even then, we don't even know what's going to happen then, even if we find out who wins that briefcase.
And hey, people could still get hurt. We're continuing to see injuries happening. And I must have missed this. What happened to Rhea Ripley?
She busted her teeth in a match, I want to say, against, was it Liv Morgan, possibly? Liv Morgan, or it could have been someone else.
Liv busted Rhea's tooth?
I believe so, or something. I don't know if that's true or not. I think it happened during the match. And so she's not cleared. So she was pulled from the Money in the Bank match against Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. We have a new contender. Carmella.
First of all, okay, before we get into Carmella.
Mella's money.
When I guess maybe I have it bookmarked. I'm trying to find it. There was a graphic. I mentioned earlier that Bianca Belair might be jinxed or something. I don't know. You can't really blame it on her, but they showed 3 graphics where like the last 3 opponents she was supposed to have like on a like main spot have all gotten hurt. Off the top of my head, Sasha was one. I think that's when she had COVID or whatever.
That was the SummerSlam match where Becky came back.
There was, I think, was it one with Asuka?
It was there was one with Bailey.
The Bailey one.
That's when, that was last year.
That's why she's still out, right?
Yeah, they need. And where's Bailey at? She's got to come back soon.
She can come back at SummerSlam, I guess. I'm trying to think. I thought I saved the graphic, but did I send it to you? Anyways, I'm trying to remember who the third person was, but
I think Rhea is the third person.
Maybe it was Rhea, but once before. Maybe is that what you're saying? Or Rhea is the third, but maybe okay, maybe that's what it is. I mean, again, I talked about it last week. I thought they were doing great stuff with having them. Hey, they've been kind of toe for toe matching each other along the way, being in these matches together. I think they were both in the finals, can be for the number 1 contender spot. I think they not wrestle at WrestleMania for the title or something.
No, they're both in title matches, but they
were both in title matches, right? But their careers have been very parallel on the main roster, right? And it's
they were slowly building up to that a culmination.
And it's just Carmella, like 4 weeks ago, I remember talking about, she was
injured.
Well, she was going to be doing stuff with R-Truth again, I thought.
She was in that 24/7. Yeah, she was in that
24/7 thing.
Feud and
now she's in it. And now she won some match.
It was a fatal 5-way. Included Asuka.
Oh, so Becky they wrestled twice.
Becky Lynch, yeah. I believe Alexa Bliss. And I want to say, I don't know if it was Liv.
Could have been Liv.
It could have been Liv. So.
But now, and they went with Carmella, huh? I mean, this is for Money in the Bank.
Bianca's retaining.
Of course. But what does this also mean for the momentum of the Judgment Day?
It means Finn and Damian Priest are on main event, as they were there was a video of them on main event. I just think they're just waiting for Rhea to come back and they'll be back on Raw. I just think.
But I mean, they weren't doing anything. I mean, they don't necessarily need Rhea for, how many mixed tag matches can you have, right? So it's kind of like they should still be able to do stuff with her.
I think, since she's not on TV, I just don't think they want to show 2/3 of the member.
Yeah.
They just don't. Well, they don't want to do anything without her.
I mean, if you give it a week or two, she'll be back on there. Hey, if she either got her broken tooth fixed or you leave it and it just kind of goes with the dark thing you guys are trying to do there. Like,
yeah, maybe.
I don't. Things aren't looking good for Judgment Day if we're getting a stop-start here, right? Because it was already kind of a sudden turn, losing Edge the way that they did.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
So I feel like there's a lot of stop-start here.
Well, I don't think they were planning the whole injury to happen. So.
Well, no, but I don't know. I mean, this was the main event spot on Raw the week before. On Raw the week before, right?
So
and again, it was I find it interesting that even again you had Asuka and Becky come out, have that second match for that Money in the Bank spot, and you had Asuka won. So now what does Becky do? But now you have them in the main event spot, and good for the women again being back in the main event spot. But what is the direction? What are we doing here?
They're biding their time for SummerSlam. They just need to set up those Money in the Bank matches, and then.
I just think it's weird when you're looking past the pay-per-view and you're just biding your time on it. Like, it's, to me, they're supposed to be special. Like, some feuds need to end. Something exciting should always kind of happen in a pay-per-view or a premium live event, but something has to, I don't know.
I think the injuries with Cody happened. They had to move from a stadium to an arena happened. So they just decided, well, let's just, let's try and put out the best card possible. Rhea got hurt, so now they have to find a replacement for her. And they're like, well, let's just find someone for SummerSlam, fill out that stadium so we can sell that out. They got the Roman Brock situation there. And now they just have to figure out what they're going to do for Money in the Bank and see where we go from there. I think it'll be fine. I think, we just got to be a little patient there. We'll see what happens. When we return, we're going to talk about 2 losses that we had over the weekend. We've been pushed back a little bit. We'll talk about that right away. And then we'll talk a little bit about Beyond the Ropes, a little more beyond the BTR 200. We'll talk about I don't know what else is going on. Apparently, Impact had their 20th anniversary.
Oh yeah, they had some surprise. They had some surprise guests on there. We can mention that. A little bit. Talk about that and much more right here on the 200th episode of Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 80.1 FM, KKJZ, HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 200 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan Jordan, alongside the analyst, James Williams, and producer, Rob Flores. Let's talk about some 2 unfortunate passings over the weekend. First, we have Dave Foley. Dave Hebner. I was like, Foley.
I don't know why. What you talking about? Foley. Rob put Foley in the chat earlier, so.
Yeah,
Dave Hebner, excuse me, and Tim White both passed away over the weekend. Dave Hebner, there, I was going to say it again. Dave Hebner, of course, Earl Hebner's brother, was involved with that storyline with Hogan. I believe that twin storyline.
Yeah, he was involved in the twin storyline with Hogan. It's just kind of interesting because I always kind of got the 2 confused. I don't know why I always was familiar with Earl more, his brother Earl Hebner. Steve Austin always talked about Earl. But I think there was a time where Earl was still referee and Dave Hebner was doing things behind the scenes, whether he was like in charge of the refs and who was doing what, or maybe he was just an agent, but he was kind of more behind the scenes, I think, after a while.
Yeah, because we didn't really see too much of him. Yeah. Later on. Earl was more of the public figure. Speaking of Earl, he was involved in the TNA Slammiversary events that occurred over the weekend. We'll talk about that after we mentioned Tim White was another one. Former referee, retired in the early 2000s, but became kind of an agent of sorts for public appearances for the WWE superstars. Several superstars, including Edge, Beth Phoenix, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Chris Jericho, various individuals talked about him and the stories he would tell.
Yeah, I remember I saw a tweet from like Rusev where he was saying like, like Tim White was like someone who, was just always super respectful backstage and just wherever they went. And if you were someone he was just meeting for the first time, he would treat you like anybody else, and was kind of like a mainstay there with WWE for so long. Again, when I think about referees throughout my childhood and throughout the Monday Night Wars and stuff, it's Charles Robinson, Earl Hebner, Tim White, Mike Chioda. I'm sure there's a few others I'm probably missing in there as well, but those are some of the guys. Even Brian Hebner, I think Earl's son, who was doing a lot of reffing as well. Yeah, like a lot of those guys. So in a way, it's kind of sad because you're starting to see some of these guys pass away now, right? And you grew up watching these guys, and I think Tim White was only like 65. I think.
Wow, pretty young.
Well, Dave Hebner was 73,
Mm-hmm.
and then good old Timmy White was, hold on. Of course, I don't want to show up. Hold on 1 second. I have it here. Oh, actually, yeah. Wait. So Tim White was 68. And the other thing about it, and I don't know, you kind of mentioned it there a little bit with how he was an agent for so many guys, but I just remember too, like one of the biggest things before he was even like a ref or was maybe working as a part-time ref back then, but I remember hearing stories about is he was more or less like the handler or the go-to guy for Andre the Giant back in the day, and was the guy who would have to make sure like all of Andre's travel was figured out and accommodated for, and would travel with Andre. And like, you know, there's Andre the Giant is the legend in his own right, and you know, it's considered one of the longtime pillars of just WWE. A lot of the things he was able to do, Tim White was a big part of, or was with him a lot of the time. Maybe that wasn't shown on TV. I'd be curious, maybe look back to see if Timmy White was doing a lot of Andre the Giant matches, maybe then too. But yeah, he had been around for a long time, and I'm kind of reading some of it here. That Tim White was a part-time referee in 1985 while he was working as an agent for Andre. And then it wasn't until after Andre had passed away in 93 is when he kind of took on more of that full-time role, some of that full-time role. And so again, here in 93, I was born in 91. So not only was he there for most of the wrestling time and memories I remember, Tim White had been there years before. And again, so that just speaks about, you know, the longevity these guys had in the company, you know, and there's several other guys that we've talked about over the different episodes we've had here on BTR. But yeah, I think those guys will definitely be missed. I know after he was kind of done with the in-ring stuff and being a ref, Tim White did a lot of WWE.com stuff and had some little skits and some things backstage that were pretty interesting and comical. But no, Tim White was, you know, the referees don't get a lot of credit, but they're the ones that are communicating with these guys during the match, before the match, making sure things run smoothly. And you know, Steve Austin has even kind of said it too. It's like, yeah, they're one-on-one matches, and the focus is on two guys in the ring, but sometimes those matches don't go as well as they should be or do if it's not for the referee, who's that third woman in there now, and are oftentimes maybe aren't meant to be as significant in what would be the outcome of the match. But in order for that match to operate the way that it needs to, those guys are a big part of what gets done there.
Absolutely. Rest in peace to them.
Yeah.
What else were we to discuss?
Well, we have some numbers to talk about too. We mentioned some of Vince McMahon stuff. I'm trying to think what were the dates on Vince McMahon? So we're filming this on the
22nd.
Recording the 22nd.
So the
Vince was on
17th and 20th.
Well, good, because I happen to have those numbers here in front of me. I just want to make sure, because I teased them earlier in the show, and I just want to make sure I'm delivering for the folks that are listening at home and in their car or around the world. So here it is, the numbers from the past week in the wrestling industry. Well, again, as always, we'll start with AEW with the Rampage episode for June 17th, 331,000. Your AEW Dynamite show for June 15th was 761,000. And then for your
it was the lowest in over a year, I believe, for AEW.
For AEW, wow. And I wonder why that was. I don't know why it didn't run into any.
There wasn't any like game, was there?
I think all the hockey's on ESPN. The Stanley Cup Finals is maybe on ESPN now, so it's not like TBS TNT was a thing that would have impacted it. So I'm not sure, but yeah, you had Ms. and Mrs., which comes on right after Raw. That was on June 20th, and that was 587,000, and on the USA Network. And then just skipping over to NXT real quick, 612,000 for their June 14th episode. And then going back to Raw, 1.9, almost 2 million for the June 20th episode, which Vince McMahon did kind of appear on. Maybe it was announced, but it wasn't made as a big deal as it wasn't.
Was not announced.
Wasn't announced, but obviously there was the bigger and more announced after the news and the fallout for Vince McMahon. He does show up on that SmackDown for June 17th, and that puts up a 2.2, almost 2.3 million for SmackDown on June 17th. Just about a little bit over, just a smidge over that, because they usually kind of dabble around that 2 million mark. So not too much of an impact there, but you got a few extra eyeballs. Just
to
why? See.
You know why they got a few extra eyeballs?
Why? You think so? Because of Roman Reigns, huh? If he was such a needle pusher, do you think they would really be wanting him, being okay with him being a part-time player?
They can't afford him.
After this is done, whatever happens with this SummerSlam main event, we cannot have another Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match, especially if they're both part-time. Like, there's no way. And again, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They need to build a star needs to be made by the end of that main event. And obviously, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar are already stars. So Riddle,
it's gonna be Omos.
Or somebody, anybody at this point. Why not? I don't think it's gonna be Omos. Please
no.
Again, it's kind of slim pickings there. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Do you have the women's
the ladder match
competitors in that Money in the Bank match? I know we kind of talked about some of them.
So far announced. So far that are announced.
Mm-hmm.
You got Alexa Bliss, you got Liv Morgan, Lacey Evans, Raquel Rodriguez, and Asuka.
So see, you didn't have another name there, right?
No.
So I kind of like that. It's different. You got some different names. Mm-hmm. You got some new people. It's a mix. Like I can.
Who wins?
Well, my first thought was maybe Lacey Evans, because they keep pushing her to the moon and back,
mm-hmm.
just with the promos, and she's out there and she's saying she's going to do this, and that. And they're talking about her being
they're pushing Raquel.
They're pushing Raquel. When you mentioned Raquel, Rob mentioned Raquel as well. I think Raquel got a big win. Liv,
Liv is kind of.
Here's the thing with Liv. They've been kind of pushing her a little bit, quite a bit actually. And she's been in some spots, like, doing pretty well. And every time I see her on TV and she's in these matches, I'm like, oh wow, like they're doing something with Liv. Good for Liv. But now that let's do something, because if she hasn't won the title yet, like if you don't do anything with her at Money in the Bank now, where she can have a little single success, what are we doing with her, right? Mm-hmm. So I need to see something with Liv. Maybe this is a good spot for Liv, but maybe you get a good showing for Raquel, maybe for Lacey here. Who you said Asuka's in that match?
Alexa. I mean, Alexa just came back. She's
just came back. We need to find a direction for her. Where are we going with her?
I think the only one that isn't going to win is Asuka, just because I think she's still feuding with Becky.
Yeah, and she could find her way back into the title picture whenever. She doesn't need a.
She's a former champion. I mean, Alexa is too, but Alexa kind of needs something to do too. But I think Liv makes the most sense to me.
I think it does, because there's been a little bit of booking and storytelling behind her, mm-hmm. right? So it's kind of like, I wouldn't be mad if it was Raquel or Lacey. I mean, please do something with Lacey if you're gonna have her talk and stuff, and that's great. But I mm-hmm. still just remember what Lacey was, and it wasn't anything for me. So let's do something with her if we're gonna do something. So I'm okay with it as long as it's not Asuka. I mean, it'll probably be Asuka, but
not opposed to that. Well, she did win a couple of years ago.
She did win a couple. Well, yeah, and that's how she got the title, right? With mm-hmm. Becky gave it to her. How do we see? Does it depend who wins, or where do we see who? What belt do you think should be in consideration there? Because that one's not unified, right? So you have Bianca, Ronda. Yeah, Ronda's on the other one. And so Ronda doesn't have a match?
She's facing Natalia.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. I feel like I maybe seen that one already. And then
Sasha got
Bianca had
and walked out.
Yeah. Took a ball and went home.
Mm-hmm. Naomi posted on social media. She's posted a couple times.
Naomi's posted a few times, and I don't know if we talked about it. Naomi posted that video. It was kind of like this. It was some inspirational thing, actually, but it was like these 5 steps on how people shouldn't bother you or define you for who you are kind of deal. And of course, it got picked up by the dirt sheets and all that. And I'm like, guys, there's just an inspirational little video. Obviously, it was meant to be what it was. Yeah, right. But so what? Like, it is nothing against Naomi, but hey, I'm just like, what are we doing with Naomi? Where does she fit in all this? How does she come back a happy camper in this whole thing, if at all? Because hey, the reports are Sasha's out. You know, I don't know if Sasha's necessarily going to go to AEW. Maybe she's just getting into the movie stuff, right? Maybe we get Bayley coming back by SummerSlam, right? She was supposed to be ready to go by the Royal Rumble or by WrestleMania. I think they waited. Was it by Mania? But I think so. Then they wanted to maybe come back early, be an entrant, maybe win, then kind of have her ready for WrestleMania, something. I think the Rumble was early, but I think we were even talking about it then. But you know, she should be ready now, right? And I don't know what she comes back in terms of a gimmick. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. We'll see where we go with this. Madcap. It's coming off another victory over Corbin. I think we're done with there. I'm interested to see where they go with that.
I think we're getting Corbin McAfee at SummerSlam.
You think so? I didn't know. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I had a little interaction with them. So,
and you know, I listen to Pat McAfee stuff, and I'm behind a little bit on it. We'll see. We'll see where they go with that. I don't know how I feel about McAfee. Like, I watch his shows. I think he's entertaining, but it's like, if he's on the announce team all the time, why does he wrestle like every big pay-per-view? Like, he has a following on him, right? Like, that's why I was kind of careful with what I'm saying, is like, he does have a following, and I understand why they would have him in matches, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like,
brings people like him.
I mean, he wasn't bad at WrestleMania by any means, but I'm just kind of like, again, isn't there more we can be doing with some of these other people? Like McAfee, the thing is we know McAfee's going to go back to being an announcer, right? So it's not like we're building anything there.
Right.
So what are we doing with the guys that we have on the roster?
No, I got you.
That's my thing.
All right, I think we covered mostly everything.
No, we didn't.
Anything else? What else?
Yes, there is. Austin Theory.
Sure.
Is he going to have a match with John Cena? Are we going to get?
I said this last week.
That's where I got the idea. That's why it came to mind. But I'm trying to figure out how are we going to write off Bobby Lashley if
Lashley's
so,
going to beat him for the title. They're having a match at Money in the Bank. Confirmed.
Okay, so they are having that.
Lashley's winning the title. You can move on from that. Theory goes after Cena.
Now, is Money in the Bank before Cena?
Money in the Bank. Well, Cena's next week. So Money in the Bank technically is after. But, you know, they could do something next week.
Money in the Bank is after, so they find a way to get Cena. Like you tease something with Cena, but I'm just kind of like.
Maybe Cena costs Theory.
I don't know if Cena costs Theory. I think.
He distracts them. They play his music or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're doing a celebration deal for him, I don't think you like Cena doesn't need to interfere. Like, Cena's not coming for his, I would say, 75th anniversary, but for his 20th anniversary to interfere with Austin Theory. Like, they've been teasing it.
Theory will interfere. Cena's celebration.
I got
Cena has a reason to come out of Money in the Bank or something. I don't know. Distract Theory. Or Theory could just call him out next week or something. Give Cena a reason to come back and stay for a bit for SummerSlam.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to be there every day.
No.
So, but I think they got to do something because he keeps mentioning Cena. So
they're going to do something. Anything else? Got 2 minutes here.
That's kind of it. What's your favorite memory about BTR 200 episodes in? My arrival in my briefcase.
Acknowledging the tribal chief every week. We didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about, say it with me, James. Max Dupree.
Now, wait. You told me he was going to get somebody. Did he get somebody?
They're going to run this into the ground.
He didn't get anybody.
He didn't do the thing because he wasn't happy with the lighting.
Oh no, they're gonna run it.
They're gonna run this into the ground. They're going to do this every week. They're going to do this every week until they get tired of it.
Someone, hey, and real quick, this is worth mentioning now. Someone mentioned this on Twitter, and I thought the same thing too when I saw it live. Veer can talk complete, perfect, good English.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting that. Don't know if he's talked before, but I heard him on this promo. Sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know who
someone tweeted he should be with Mac Dupree.
Well, maybe.
Wouldn't be mad at it.
He wears suits. Elias is back. We
oh my God.
about Elias.
I don't know how we're gonna get this in a minute, but I thought it was great. You had them both on there. Obviously, you both can have them both.
Well, they're brothers.
They're brothers, but
they're two different people.
They're two different people, but so they're in two different spots.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they pulled it off great, but I think. Oh, actually, I was gonna say it's next week.
Next week, Owens is facing one of them.
Well, one of three, because there's this other brother apparently.
There's another
Airboy. Yeah. But if you go on the YouTube for WWE, they did a video together. They were both there.
I gotta watch this.
Yeah, you gotta. I haven't watched it either, but I have it bookmarked.
Anyways, for the 200th time,
thank
you for watching BTR. Here's turning the 200.
And I think that hat is like the big moment of 2020 or of the 20
of the 200
episode. Just the flashing lights. I'm at a loss for words.
Throw of those two sweets here.
I'm at a loss for words.
This episode has been absolutely too sweet.